Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the Becoming Unshakable podcast. Today, I wanted to just recap you on something that's pretty spectacular that happened to me, and talk to you about how self leadership is not selfish. It's actually pretty smart. So when everybody else isn't doing it and you are, it already sets you apart. But I'm really here to challenge the myth that you leading you, that you caring for you, that you setting boundaries, that you are just doing things to uplift yourself and ground yourself are indulgent. In fact, I think they are the only way to lead. And so I'm going to talk to you about something that happened to me today or this week. And then I'm going to also share with you some tips on maybe how to lead better from within, maybe what I shared with this audience. So what was so spectacular is I was asked to speak to 13,000 nurses in person in Atlanta in this beast of a place called the World Congress, Atlanta World Congress, which was a maze in itself. And I felt pretty much like a rock star. People are like, "You're a rock star." People will say that to me, but boy, did they make me feel like that. I had, hair and makeup, and I had a security guard escort me afterward to go to my book signing with like hundreds of people in line. It was crazy. But when I went there, I found myself preparing more. I found myself really trying to lean into what the needs of those nurses were. So, part of my cadence is that I have a focus group or two in advance of every one of my keynotes with people who will be in the audience so that I can make sure that they know I understand them a little bit more uniquely and that it's not just some generic type of talk off the shelf. While it is my content and I've done the research, in the end, I want to go more personal with research. But with them, it was special. Nurses, anybody in healthcare, people who are caring for others every day, they already have a lot of compassion fatigue. They already care so deeply. Think about the pandemic and all the things you saw in the news with the nurses and the doctors and people just crying, and they're giving so much of themselves. And they've been doing this for hundreds and hundreds, like thousands of years. The pandemic elevated it for us and helped us see how much they really put themselves into their work, and they were essential. So they just had no choice but to show up and try to show with compassion. But they really, I knew because they're my people. I'm a compassion geek too. Showing care for others. If you know, before I had the podcast on leadership with heart, it was all about caring. I've written a book on it. I speak on it. And then the beginning of last year, it was actually the end of the year before the end of 2023, I hit a wall. And I realized that I had poured so much of myself into other people and so much of my time into this part of me or to this side of me that I thought maybe other people thought I should be doing, or I thought were signs of success. And then realized it wasn't what I wanted after all. And it was not my definition of success. So for the nurses, I wanted to impart upon them that even though I'm not a nurse, I've never been a nurse, I've never worked in a hospital, that I saw them, that I uniquely saw them. But I wanted to make sure that I was polished, because I wanted to be so prepared, so polished meaning so prepared, because that is part of self leadership, is preparing for your success, preparing for the thing that you want. And so I just knew I was going to, my cadence, my way I do things is I'm listening to myself on audio. I'm writing it in a book. I'm printing it out, and I'm just getting into my head. And then I'm working on how I'm going to move on the stage. And then I'm thinking about how I'm going to tell the story. So I put a lot of time into it. Why do I prepare so much? Because then it allows me to be more present when I'm in the room. It allows me to not say the thing I planned on saying because I know all the other things I'm going to say. And it allows me to just sit there with them and decide to say something else that maybe I sense their heart needs at the moment. So for me, self-leadership means prepare until you can prepare no more, so that when you finally get live in the environment that you're in, it allows you to be fully present with those who need you to hear them and be there with them in the moment, so you can achieve more things through the team, for the organization, as a whole. You can feel successful. So that was my first kind of self-leadership step. And that's the point I'd want to make for you, is that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter if you're speaking or presenting, whatever you're doing, preparing to the very last minute, preparing to do all you can do to do well in the role you're doing it, so that you can then be more flexible. You can then be more nimble. You can then listen and just really focus on the whole person in front of you. So as I was talking to them too, I wanted to, of course, impart upon them the importance of them caring for themselves as much as they care for others. Because people who are that kind of person, right? Those kind of people, they do pour so much into other people, but they walk around half themselves all the time. And so the story I was sharing with them was about finding the golden core inside themselves. It's founded on a story. It's kind of a signature story I tell with them that talk about this golden Buddha. And it was all about all the things that we do as people, how we add layers and layers of stuff all over us, hiding the truth of who we are, of what we really want, of what our values are, of how we want to lead. And when I was doing that, I could, see, I mean, it was resonating. People were leaning in, and I was getting them to laugh, and I was getting them to engage. And I was talking to them about care and the importance of like how care is not weak, it is strong. How when you care for others as much as you care for other people, you become this unshakable force in a room full of chaos. You become the calm in the storm. And I know they needed to hear it. And I had people coming up to me in the book signing area fully in tears, or wanting so much so to get a hug from me, for me to see them in the moment. I would just stand up. I was hugging all these people. I was hugging people, taking tons of pictures. But I knew they needed that hug. That hug for them would be grounding in the moment. And so ask yourself this question as strong self leaders, or those trying to become stronger in self leadership. Who needs to hug you for you to feel grounded, more stable in your own shoes, so that you can go about your day? Another message that I shared with them, which is just so critical for us as we look at self leadership, we think about how our influence is and how we impact other people outside of ourselves, is how much are you leaning on your team? Are you trying to be this strong, bold leader who has all the answers, who needs not one other person? Or are you also saying to yourself, okay, that's bull. I need to learn to let go of some of the constraints I put on myself, the beliefs that I think that I need to know it all, that I do need to be the person with the cape and the hard outer core. Can I open that up a bit and be vulnerable and show the team that I need their help? And when I rely on the team, how much more do I strengthen them, and how much more do I connect us? How much more does my influence rise when I am not the person who has to do every single thing? So I was telling them that for them, if they did not lean on the team, they become kind of their own risk factor. They add layer upon layer of themselves that don't allow them to shine as their own strong self leaders, don't allow people to see their greatness if they keep trying to do it all by themselves. How much of that is you too? If you're listening to this, are you the person who's trying to do it all by yourself? Listen, I have been there, done that. I have 4 children. I am an only child. I was raised to be self reliant, to be thick skinned, to be resilient, to be in my own shoes, stand in my own shoes strong, which is not a bad thing, by the way. However, we need to make sure that we bring people along with us, that we lean on people to ask for feedback. That is strong self leadership, that we lean on other people to be the solution, because we're not going to be the solution every single time. That is strong self leadership. So, how can you do that for you? And the one other thing that I shared with them that I thought was just, it's so critical, is we think about self leadership and we think about becoming unshakable, we have to understand what our values really are. Like, what are the values that we think we live by, and what are the things that we actually live by? What are the things that we are aligned with in the way we show up every day, and what are the things that we only use by the way we speak about it, but do we actually show and demonstrate it? And so I had to do that because a couple years ago, I had to check myself. I kept telling myself and other people that my family was most important. And I kept reasoning that being gone all the time for speaking on stages and consulting and everything, that was for my family. But then I had to start asking myself, like, was it really? And I would see that they missed me. They needed me. They were teenagers, but they needed me more than they were little. And I started to see the writing on the walls, and I realized that wall that I was hitting was kind of the wall of enlightenment, the wall of self empowerment, the wall of true self leadership that said, Heather, smack, smack, you aren't living in alignment with your values. If your values family, why are you gone all the time? So I revealed some of that to the people in the audience. I asked them and did some exercises for them to really question the values they're living by and versus the ones they assume they are, and kind of find the contradictions. And so that would be a question I have for you. Are you actually living by the thing that you think you value? What's the evidence of that? When you find the evidence point, start journaling that for yourself. Find out, are there gaps? Are there incongruencies? What can you do to fill those gaps? I think awareness is a starting point. It is the starting point. So when we think about becoming unshakable, it is about peeling back those layers. It is about caring for us as much as we care for others so that we can be that strong, guided, calm force in the storm that is our world right now. It is a crazy place. And we have to think about how the world is putting us on our heels and how much we're forcing our nervous system to go into overdrive by trying to continue to hit walls and hit walls and hit walls and bounce back and bounce back and bounce back. Is that necessary? Is it healthy? I'm questioning this, and I have been questioning this for myself and looking around the world and wondering, what is this doing? If you can just see it in the news, people are like this, they're responding, they're reacting, they're not taking time to pause. They're not wondering what's happening with the other person on the other side. They're not leading and leaning in with empathy and understanding. They're not doing it because they've been told to hit a wall and hit a wall and hit a ball, hit a wall, and just keep hitting that wall. At one point, the wall will crack and you'll get through it. Self leadership has resilience embedded in it. And it also has things like self care, self understanding, understanding our values, making sure that we are giving and receiving feedback with care and concern and kindness, making sure that we know that our communication style and our influence is determined by how much we take the time to pause and know another person. There's a lot of stuff that's embedded in this great world and the work that I'm doing on unshakable leadership. So, if you want to become more unshakable, focus on your values and leading by them. Focus in on empowering yourself, understanding what your own story is while you're doing it. Look for alignment in all the things that you're doing. Know that self care is not weak, it's smart. Self care is strong. Self care is enlightened. When people try to joke about bubble baths and going on walks and meditation, I would venture to guess they're people who are not very balanced and grounded. Self leadership is elevated. It's taking all of that and adding whole nother levels of self advocacy and getting the feedback and proactively going after things that make you learn and grow. So I invite you into this space some more. Send me some questions. Tell me some of your answers to the questions I've given you. I hope this has been a helpful one. And I'm going to be honest, as I said to the people, let's start chipping away the clay and shine. And I told them they're already golden at the very end of all these nurses. And I walked off stage. I felt the connection. I felt it was good. I felt when the nurses approached me in that line in tears, I knew the pain, to be honest. I feel like many of us, whether we're in healthcare or not, are going through right now. And we need someone to hug us and we need someone to be present. And so I would say my very final thing to you is this: be hugged by somebody, show the tears, be vulnerable, do what you have to do, right? It's not all about hitting the wall. It's also about receiving the right care for yourself too. Big hugs to you, everybody. And thanks again for joining the Becoming Unshakable podcast. Take care.